media, out of context, misquoting, misrepresenting, we're easily able to go back to the reports that you have presented to be able to put the record straight. Because now, with the speed at which information is disseminated, a whole reputation built on a lifetime can be destroyed in seconds. And if you don't have the information at your fingertips to be able to counter that, you literally have lost that battle in terms of the media war on the internet. The accuracy with which reports are made on the floor is, I believe, part of the reason why you have more than one person recording at any given time. And this is to make sure that if I heard one thing and you heard it differently, then we can see where the issue is. In addition to the fact that you have the audio recordings, which you take note of. All of these come together to make sure that it is not just based on what somebody hears. And that's why even in the court of law, I'm not a lawyer, I hope to be corrected if I'm wrong, you can't just use eyewitness and hearsay as the basis on which to convict. You have to have more proof than that. And that is where you come in. Your documents serve as academic records. Your documents are archives that we dip into when we want to know what actually happened, not what they say happened, not what one party says happened, not who was in power says happened, but what actually happened. And this is something that is a guide for generations to come, and that cannot be replaced. And so as we spend time here, and I do hope, you are in my constituency, by the way, and we do have the Arts Center. I hope you will take time out to actually see some of the beautiful things that we have here represented in this constituency. But as we spend time here and we get to know each other, I would hope that there'd be some peer-to-peer exchange of ideas, and of course, mistakes and challenges that you've made in your various jurisdictions, and how we can perhaps avoid some of those mistakes across board, how we can use our learning experiences to support other parliaments, other houses of legislature, and how perhaps we can work together with members of parliament to ensure that there's a clear understanding of what it is you do. I'm not quite sure that all members across board fully appreciate the amount of work that goes into recording every single thing that happens on the floor. And I would hope that the Hansard department will take advantage of social media to actually propagate the work that you do to make sure that your records are out there. Because the best way of keeping information safe is making it widely and freely available. And so I would hope that at the end of all of this, there would be an easier way in which, if I'm here in Ghana, I'm looking for information on what happened in Lesotho or what happened in Kenya, I can easily go online, find out what has happened without having to go through my Hansard department that will then reach out to your Hansard department. Because the minute we start creating these silos of academia and information and archives, what it does is the young generation who don't spend too much time going through physical archives will lose the ability to actually have easy access. And if we want our population, which is quite youthful, to understand what we do and not simply buy into the political rhetoric that we hear so much of, then we must make these archives freely available to them. How do we make it interesting? How do we chunk it up into bits of information that are easily accessible, that are not so overwhelming in volume that it becomes difficult to make use of the information that you have so painstakingly put together? Because your information must not only be reserved for those who are doing academic research. Now, if you can, next slide, please. Sorry, my PA is falling behind. I guess we're not up to speed yet. Now, as I'd mentioned as well, as a member of parliament personally, I have actually made use of the Hansard department's notes, the records from the department, to be able to actually put out on social media some of the things that I have actually done on the floor of parliament, especially coming up to elections. You know, as you may probably know, coming up to elections is when people start asking, well, what did you do about this? And what did you do about that? And what questions did you ask about the flooding that happened, or about the fires that occurred, about the destruction of equipment and all of that? And some of these have only been made possible because the Hansard department has those records. Because there have been times when I couldn't even remember the specific times when I had made a statement on specific issues relating to my constituents. But for the records that the Hansard actually put together, I would not have been able to present to my constituents the record of work that I had done on the floor of Parliament and at the committee level. And so being able to access the information that you have as the Hansard department and being able to turn it out on social media is so important. However, when there isn't a smooth interface where getting the access to information in the records is not easily transferred onto social media, it then becomes another job altogether, just trying to transcribe and put it in a friendly format that people can read as well. And that's one of the challenges that I can speak of personally as a member of Parliament, trying to create a smooth transition from the records that we have to what makes it user-friendly on social media. And so yet again, I think not knowing the details of the specific equipment you need, if that subject or that topic of conversation has not arisen, I would humbly ask that you have that discussion on what kind of technology do you need so that there is a smooth flow of information from your archives, from your records department to social media, so that when media houses are reporting, their reportage must be accurate. They should not have an excuse of saying they cannot get the correct information and that's why they reported what they did. The ease with which people can get information that you have recorded is what improves the accuracy of reporting on social media and in other forms of media. So ultimately, I think that one of the things that we have to do is to find a very nice nexus between your method of recording information and how we convey that onto social media for ease of reporting, for ease of sharing of information. You know what is wrong with your departments, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to have those discussions. But I would also appeal that when you do have those discussions, let's have copies of the report so that we can report on these on the plenary, so that we can debate on these challenges that you face, so that when the budgets come before our committees, we can put in a word strongly in favor of the Hansard department. And I think that if we can do that, then we give a voice to you, because you are the ones who keep everything. And we have to make sure that there is that reciprocal relationship where we on the floor of Parliament who have a voice to speak on the floor can do so on your behalf. And then finally, the capacity building of members of Parliament. If the Hansard department across the continent perhaps could look at how you engage members of Parliament in understanding what you do. Because like I said, had it not been my daughter actually doing a short internship with the Hansard department, I would not have become aware of the extent of painstaking work that you do, nor would I have been aware of the challenges that you face. And not because I didn't care, but there is only so much information that one can deal with at any given time. And so if something doesn't come up on your radar, it does not become an issue for you to be able to advocate on. And so please, wherever you are coming from, whatever jurisdiction you're in, make it a point to have advocates on the floor. And the only way to do that is to empower people with knowledge. Every member of Parliament should really fully understand what it is that you do, so that we collectively can work towards making your department better. Because if you have a better department working timelessly, accurately reporting, and abreast with the times and in sync with technology, we can certainly ensure that not only do we have the hard copies of what has been recorded in our various legislative houses, not only do we have the various digital copies that you have, but then we can have a database across the continent where one can make reference to what has been said in various parliaments, in various houses of representatives across the continent. And so this is an opportunity to marry the technology that is out there with the knowledge and the skills that you have in order to have a synergistic impact, not just in this country, not just across the parliament, the Commonwealth on the continent, but across the world, because we have a huge database from which we can learn, from which we can, respectively in our various countries, learn from each other, see what are the best practices, and see how we can, as members of parliament in our various jurisdictions, learn from what has happened in other jurisdictions to make things better, so that this dream that we have of this continent being better, to make sure that the interconnectivity that we seek across our various jurisdictions is not just one that happens when we meet physically, but one that we can have virtually across millions of miles, across various jurisdictions, across various generations. And so I would like to thank you very much, and I would hope that at the end of this, and again, I would reiterate that you would share reports with your various houses of legislature, find your advocates and let them speak to the reports so that your various parliaments can support what you do. I would like to say a thank you, big thank you again, and welcome to Ghana. I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay, and good luck. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Honorable. That was a very wonderful presentation. And as she concluded with us, the takeaway from her presentation is that you should find your advocates. And your advocates should be members of parliament. She was the first member of parliament to have ever made a statement about the Hansard. And it was more of advocating for support for Hansard, saying that we can have an up-to-date Hansard. And I believe at the time she was making that statement, we had some of our Hansards that were outstanding for close to 3 months. But as we speak today, the last date of the Hansard has been published. So we don't have any arrears as of now. She's also advising us that we should find appropriate means of indexing, because it's very important. If you want to find your advocates, at least you should let your advocates understand what you are doing. And your advocates should understand that you are relevant to whatever work they are doing in Parliament. And so they should be able to search for whatever information they are looking for. And it should not just be the text of it, but we should also now be looking at audio and video indexing. So that, as she said, in these days of social media, they can just cut a certain portion of your contribution on the floor just to ridicule you or to paint a bad picture about you. But if it's easy for a member of parliament to go through the Hansard and then to be able to pick the appropriate one and then put it all out there, at least the context will come out, and it will be good for the member and then for the integrity of the information that you are storing. So I believe, and Honorable, what we are doing in our parliament is that we are trying to collaborate with ICT, Hansard, and then broadcasting to see to what extent we can find appropriate software for indexing, so that we can be able to, and it's not just indexing of the text, but indexing of the audio and then the video. On that note, this was a lively presentation. I'm sure there are several questions and contributions, which I believe, Honorable, I know she's busy, but she will spare some few minutes to take some questions from our delegates. So the floor is open. The floor is open for all delegates, including the Ghanaian delegates. Yes. The mic is behind. So you can just use your country flag. Yes. Adam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator and Honorable Presenter. We are grateful that you've been able to make time to come to deliver this paper to us. We are extremely grateful. As my boss recounted, following your presentation, in fact, it was a surprise to most of us in the department. There was just some few minutes to that day that our late boss said we should try and be in the chamber because we were making a statement. And then those who are around were able to get to the chamber, and we're actually very grateful for the presentation. We have not formally made you our advocate, but I think you are the de facto champion and advocate for the Hansard department. And we appreciate that. We appreciate that. We are really, really, really grateful. We will try at the end of this conference to put up a report, and then we'll make it available for you to look at. We'll highlight some of the challenges and innovations that we try to come up to bring about, so that you can advocate for us. As Mr. Speaker rightly said in this morning, per Order 48 of the Standard Orders, it has to produce in an order prescribed by Mr. Speaker. So I'm sure there is a way we want to do it, and maybe you will help us in whispering to him that will enable us, because we are looking at a situation where within 2 hours after the House finished sitting, we should have the Hansard. Now we are struggling with 3-5 hours, which is not the best. But colleagues here will bear me. In Ghana, our MPs sit till they are tired. It is unlike Kenya, where they have 2:30 to 6:30. Ours, they sit till they are tired. So they can sit from 2 p.m. till the following day. And we don't have any place going. We just have to sit there and be recorded. So, and Parliament of Ghana is one of the few parliaments that they approve the Hansard on the floor. Colleagues are here. Which parliament do they approve the Hansard on the floor? Please raise your hand. Where? Nigeria? Yeah. Okay. And which other place? Yeah. They approve the Hansard on the floor of Parliament. Yeah. So, apart from Nigeria, the rest, we have about 15 countries here. Yeah. Okay, Nigeria and Ghana. Yeah. Nigeria and Ghana. Yeah. And we are not against the approval, but in terms of the manner of approval. You have staff a team of dedicated professionals working, and then a member of parliament gets up, and I don't want to see it because we are live on we are live. The comments alone that day can put staff off. We don't have any problem. We are humans. When we make a mistake, we can draw our attention to it. And surprisingly, in the Hansard, after the content page, there is a text there that says that if you see any error, grammatical error, bring it to the attention of the editor of debates. Unless it is a matter of substance that you can correct on the floor. For instance, in your debate, if you mention $10 million, and Hansard put 100 million, that is not grammar, that is of substance. But members get up to correct, even they correct titles, whether it's Miss or Mrs. They correct a whole lot of things, including village names of their constituencies, which are not on the map. But we are forced, we take it, as if Hansard, we don't know anything. Certainly we know the major cities, towns in Ghana, but we cannot know settler communities, those small places that can be spelled anyhow. We cannot have those names. There are instances where we even pass notes to members of parliament to spell the name of the village for us. Some will not respond. Some will respond, and then the same text will come out and he will correct the one he himself wrote. And because we are back there, we cannot respond. We cannot say anything. But we appreciate we are there because